Well, hello, everybody. It is your favorite day of the week. Another day of a lifetime of Hallmark. I am Les Kirkendall-Barrett. Hello, Jason Bowers.
Hello, Les Kirkendall-Barrett.
And hello, Kurt Fitzpatrick.
Hello, Les Kirkendall-Barrett, and hello, Jason Bowers.
We take movies from both Lifetime and the Hallmark Channel and try to make sense of them.
We're not very successful, though, because they don't often make sense, but they are fun to watch.
And we go down all kinds of rabbit holes. We talk about Angelian quite a bit. We talk about the show Enos.
June Squibb. We are team June Squibb all the way.
And we have Black China news every single episode.
So with that in mind, why don't you listen to a lifetime of Hallmark? You can listen wherever you get your favorite podcasts.
Hello and welcome to Breaking Down Bad Books, a podcast analysing trashy bestsellers from a literary perspective. Following my breakdown of Stephenie Meyer's Twilight, I'll be digging deep into the raunchy Twilight fanfic turned erotic romance, 50 Shades of Grey. Although I'm not sure romance is the best word to use. Join me every Monday and Friday for chapter-by-chapter analysis of the book that Salman Rushdie said made Twilight look like War and Peace. You can listen on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts, or visit breakingdownbadbooks.com for all the listen links and contact information. I have a feeling that it's going to get awkward, but let's get through this together. Happy reading!
This is a Kirkendall-Barrett presentation. Well, hello everybody. It is your favorite day of the week. It is time for another episode of The Reality Reading Rainbow, where I talk about books written by reality stars, and I also do interviews, and I try to make sense of it all. I am your host, Les Kirkendall-Barrett. The show is going to begin in 1 second, but I just wanted to say a few little things. First of all, I have started a Patreon. Now, as you know, I read books. These books cost money. And so by donating to the Patreon, it'll help me, be able to buy the books. And you know what? We have plenty of tiers that start at $3 a month and up. And there are various benefits that you get. But you know what? At the end of the day, I know that times are tough for a lot of people right now. So if you are not able to give to the Patreon, then hey, you know what? I'd rather have you here listening to the podcast because your presence is my present. Also, we have a Facebook page now, and the Facebook page is called The Reality Reading Rainbow. So why don't you come and sign up, and we can have some great chats about our favorite reality shows and our favorite reality writers. And last, but certainly not least, I have a Gmail account. So if you want to drop me a line, drop me an email, suggest books, you can reach me at therealityreadingrainbow@gmail.com. That's therealityreadingrainbow@gmail.com. Oh, wait, I have one more. So for my personal for my personal Facebook page, you could sign up for that too, and it's Kirkendall. It's called Kirkendall-Barrett Presents, and on that Facebook page, I actually list my upcoming shows, different performances that I do, because I'm also a performer as well. So you can always go on there and see what I'm up to. And I think that's it. Alrighty, on with the show. Bye. Well, hello, everybody. It is your favorite day of the week. It is time for another episode of The Reality Reading Rainbow, where I talk about books written by reality stars and try to make sense of them. I also do interviews as well. I am your host, Les Kirkendall Barrett. And today I have a very special guest, and she is from the Madams, Heaux and Gigolos podcast. So welcome, Heather Michele. Hey, Heather.
Hi, Les. How are you?
I am good. Thank you for coming on.
No, thank you for having me.
And we're gonna get into our conversation, but before we do that, tell us about your podcast.
Okay, so my podcast, Madams, Heaux and Gigolos, is about the history of sex work and histories and events in the sexual revolution. We discuss all things about famous sex workers in history, all the way to events in sexual revolution, like the invention of the birth control pill. Sometimes we'll even touch on a little scandal.
Right, a little scandal. That sounds interesting.
A lot.
that now has there been any way for you to tie that into reality shows?
I feel like there are a few sex workers or ex-sex workers that have been on reality shows, maybe like Erica Jane and her bikini bar, but I'm not interested in her. Maybe Dennis Stubb. She had some kind of history, but I'm not interested in her either. I'm interested in profound sex workers like Billie Holiday or Maya Angelou or Josephine Baker. I'm not really interested in a housewife.
Right. And that is kind of cool because the other three women that you mentioned, not Erica or Danielle, but the other women that you mentioned actually basically used sex work as their launching pad to then go on to bigger and better things.
Right. Josephine Baker was a vaudeville performer and then ended up being a World War II spy.
And then, wow. See, that's a good movie. That would be a great movie.
A civil rights activist after her becoming a spy.
Right. And then it's kind of funny because then, you think Maya Angelou, wait, she was like the grand poetess, authoress, very dignified, very, you're like, oh, wow, she did sex work.
She was a madam for a lesbian couple down in San Diego. And she was 19 at the time and did it to support her son as being a single mother. And she writes about it in her book, Together Be Thy Name. Right.
And I'm very sex positive. So I see nothing wrong with sex work. And it should be decriminalized anyway, because it's like, it's not hurting anybody.
Right. And there have been some towns and some statistics where showed that rape and, molestation and crime have gone down in counties where prostitution is legal.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, I'm fascinated with this topic and yeah. So listen to this podcast. It's like, I love stuff like this. Love it. So today, we are going to talk about something a little different. Well, it's not that different. We are going to talk about the liquor franchises that have been started by housewives. But actually, I'll use this as a segue because she's been coming up in the news by her own tweeting. So, of course, the patron saint of a housewife turning her liquor into an empire is Bethenny Frankel. And say what you will about Bethenny Frankel, she, I've got to give her credit where credit is due because she literally did start off as like the poor housewife. Like she was the poor one in New York. All of the other women had money. And she used her franchise to parlay that into like a successful business. But before we talk about her success, she's being an asshole in the press right now regarding Meghan Markle.
Well, she wouldn't look at it as being an asshole. In her non-apology, what did she say? She was unfiltered and...
It was
unfiltered and something else.
Right. And so for those of you who don't know, so a couple of days ago, because everybody was anticipating the Meghan Markle Harry interview with Oprah, which I saw. And if you haven't seen it, run, don't walk to your on-demand provider and watch this interview, because even Oprah was speechless at some of the things. And did you see it, Heather?
I saw half of it, and then the streaming service went off.
Oh, damn it. Did you get to the part? Did you get to the part where Meghan was talking about what the family was saying about her baby?
Yep, I got through most of it except the Harry part.
Okay, because Meghan brings up to Oprah the fact that the family was making a big deal about how dark they thought her baby was going to be, and Oprah's mouth literally dropped open, and Oprah was speechless.
My mouth dropped as well.
Yeah, it was pretty disgusting. But
with that being the concern versus other royals who we will be talking about on my podcast and his scandal, this kind of surprises me. Like, this shocks me that is the focus versus the problematic royal.
Right. You know, it's like, oh, a black baby, oh, but a pedophile, oh, let's not speak on that. It's like, come on, you know.
Let's protect him. They're literally protecting him.
Right. So Bethany, a couple of days ago, does this asshole tweet about boo hoo hoo, poor Meghan Markle, cry me a river, and I dated her ex anyway, and just trashing Meghan Markle, right? Cut to today, after the interview and everything that Meghan Markle revealed. Now Bethany is all of a sudden like trying to, because I guess she's afraid that she's going to get dragged or canceled, and so she's trying to run interference on it, and so then she puts like this non-apology online.
Total non-apology, and she was belittling Meghan's line of work, starting as a game show. Chrissy Teigen was also on that game show. Would she have said that to Chrissy Teigen?
Bethany, you started on a reality show.
Right. That Martha Stewart show?
Right. Exactly. Bethany, you started on the Apprentice that failed, because everybody forgets that there was two apprentices. There was the Apprentice with He That Shall Not Be Named, and then there was the spinoff Apprentice with Martha Stewart. And Bethany was on that. That lasted one season.
Yep. And then Chrissy Teigen was on Deal or No Deal. I don't know if she was on it with Meghan Markle, but she was on that show. And Chrissy Teigen is also very successful.
No, I think they were on it together, because Chrissy Teigen put out a tweet a couple of days ago defending Meghan Markle and how she knows Meghan Markle and Meghan Markle is sweet. So I think they were on at the same time.
Oh, okay. I mean, but would Bethany have said that about Chrissy Teigen? And let's also not minimize the hard work you as an actor know of Hollywood.
Right.
Whether those are not small accomplishments of being on Deal or No Deal or being on a TV show like Suits.
Right.
And Bethany minimizes it.
Yeah, Bethany and her failed talk show.
Yes, that Omarosa dragged her on.
Right. So it's not like she's Meryl Streep pointing out this stuff. It's Bethany Frank. At least, so Deal or No Deal, at least they were on a successful show.
Right. I mean, I can go into a casino in Las Vegas and I will still see a slot machine of Deal or No Deal.
Right. It's like, and P.S. Bethany. So Meghan went from Deal or No Deal to a hit TV show in syndication that she was on for years to marrying a prince. And what did you do? You went from the Real Housewives to your failed talk show, back to the Real Housewives, along with your failed spinoff with what's his name?
Jason Hoppy.
Well, that one, and then she did another one.
Oh, and Frederick, and then their friends kind of falling out.
Yeah, and then now you're going through your divorce that's been going on for like 30 years now. I would shut the fuck up if I were you.
Yes, but this is Bethany, and she feels like she has the privilege to have her voice heard. And we're kind of tired of listening to it.
And right, that's what I was going to say. And P.S., none of us care what you have to say. We don't care.
Right. It's like there's a shift in society, and the mean girl, we don't want to play with anymore. We don't want to play with bully. And I feel like that's who she is. And we tolerated it before because it was like, oh, Bethany, we feel sorry for you. And I don't even know why people felt sorry for her. But now it's, okay, you're an asshole.
And I know somebody, the cool thing about living in LA is you always know somebody who has had an encounter with somebody. And I know somebody who had an encounter with her once and just said she was a complete asshole, as opposed to people who I know who have worked with Meghan Markle and have said nothing but good things.
Right. And also, Meghan Markle was doing charity work before Be Strong, and not to minimize the charity work, but she wasn't tweeting about it all the time. Like, oh, we're going to go here and help this place, and we're going to go here and help that place. She was the ambassador for in doing charity work, but wasn't posting about it or bragging about it. She was keeping it in the back burner, and I feel like that's attacking dignity. You don't speak of, I was always raised, you don't speak of your good deeds until you're rewarded. And karma will come back to you. Right.
And that's why they're good deeds, because you're doing it when nobody's watching.
Right. But Bethany, I mean, I'm conflicted because I think it's great what she's doing, but she's always tweeting about it and she wants the credit, and it's great what you're doing. She wants to be that hero when it's like, okay, well, Meghan Markle was feeding hungry children in Africa years before Be Strong was even a thing. So,
right. And I'm torn too, because on the one hand, I'm like, at least, she's helping people. I know, the people in Texas, she helped these people in Texas who I know seriously needed it. And so that's a great thing. But then she's like, look at me.
Right. It's like, where are your intentions to these good deeds, Bethany? Is it because you want the praise, or is it because you want to help? That's where I'm conflicted.
And I could even see if she was like, hey, I'm helping these people, and would you like to make donations as well? That I would be okay with.
Right. But I don't see that happening in her tweets that pop up or anything. It's, okay, I'm going to Texas, guys. We've loaded the plane. And it's like, okay, good job, Bethany.
Right.
Good job. I'm just going to go ahead and make my quiet donation to a government-funded, like FEMA or a government-funded charity to help them.
Yeah, she's an ass. And I predict that she will be back on House. If the Real Housewives of New York is around in like 2 years, she'll be back.
Do you think New York won't come back?
No. I'm just doing that. New York is my favorite franchise. New York is my favorite franchise, and I have a feeling it's here to stay. But I'm just saying that just in case. Okay. But no.
I know we're struggling with OC and they're trying to do a revamp. So, but I kind of feel like let that one die.
Right. But no. New York is the perfect casting.
Yeah.
Like perfect. Like even Tinsley, I know Tinsley got a lot of heat. I was very bummed when Tinsley left because even Tinsley was perfect for that show.
Right. No,
I liked her. I did
too. I really enjoyed Tinsley. Because we've all been that girl who's been pushed back and forth in a relationship. You're conflicted. You want to be with them. You don't. We've all been that girl at one point in our lives. I mean, I've been that girl more points than I should admit. I should know better. But I could relate to Tinsley in that. And then she got her happy ending. And you know,
Right.
they were assholes to her. And she was
Right.
still kind. And Tinsley has done a lot of work with charities behind the scenes too that she doesn't brag about.
Right. And even with Dorinda, and Dorinda's behavior was horrible, even though when they said that Dorinda was leaving the show, I was like, no, don't mess with the chemistry. Don't mess with it. Because the chemistry was perfect.
Right. Dorinda got messy, but then she was lovable at other times. Like she
Right.
had her targets. Luann, I could see the rustle, the tussle. I could see that. I could see that dynamic between two lifelong friends.
Right.
And it getting messy. I mean, I do think she was kind of out of line with Tinsley.
Right. But yeah, but even though normally I would hate that behavior, but even though Dorinda was out of line, she was still good for the show.
Yeah.
So I was willing to deal with that, to have the chemistry with all the ladies still there.
Through my processing with Dorinda, because she was supporting Bethany in the recent tweets too.
Oh.
So
well.
I'm kind of going through that process.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, let's get into this. So, and start us out. I'm looking at these notes that you sent me. You, my friend, are like a font of information about booze created by housewives. And so you actually, in my notes, you put a pop quiz. What franchise started the trend of beverage manufacturing? And when I read the answer, I was surprised. I was surprised. You want to discuss it?
We can discuss it. Did you know well, obviously you didn't know the answer. If you were surprised.
I didn't.
How far back does your knowledge of Housewives go? How far did you watch it?
I started OC from episode 1, but I just kind of forgot about it. Because the answer, for those of you who don't know, the answer is on the Real Housewives of Orange County, there was a subplot for Tammy Knickerbocker and her ex-husband created an OC energy drink in 2006.
Yeah, there was a big fight at an OC Angels photo shoot in season 2 that had between two girls.
Right. I mean, Tammy Knickerbocker was pretty forgettable, though.
Mm-hmm. This was her ex-husband. So this was Tammy Knickerbocker's 2 daughters and her ex-husband's dealings, which kind of gave Tammy the storyline along with her debating whether or not she should work things out in her relationship with this guy she was dating. So right. It was kind of like maybe a manufactured, let's promote this energy drink, OC Angels. And I mean, this was 2006 when it was like bleach, dyed, long, cheap extensions and rhinestone crosses on everything.
Right. And then you put here, which is absolutely true, that this is what created the storylines for Adrienne Maloof with her Zing, vodka, Kathy Wahili with her Sin Spirits, and Kelly Dodd with the Positivity beverage until they got rid of her for being a big hanging racist. Why do you think that these women lean towards? Because personally, I always, when I hear these far-fetched drinks, I always think it's a bad idea, and there are other ways that they could take their 15 minutes and run with it. Why do you think that they gravitate to this stuff?
I think it's because it's easy for them. I think what it is they're on TV and people are coming to them like, look, we have this beverage. We want you to sign on and be the face of it. and then promote it on the show. So they're looking at it as a way to get it in on the TV show and to get promotion in hopes that it would take off. Like this, we never stopped hearing about Positivity Beverage with Kelly Dodd. Adrienne Maloof, the season finale of one of the seasons was for Zing Vodka. So they incorporate it into the show to get the advertisements. So I feel like it's just an easy business venture for them. These people have created this brand. They come to that person. They say, hey, why don't you promote this on the show and we'll say you're a partner in investing in it. Let's be the face. Sometimes, like with Vicki, they've invested money and then it turns into a big legal lawsuit.
With Vicki Vodka?
With a Vicki bacon flavored vodka.
Now, wasn't that the one that she got sued or she sued someone or...
I believe it was she may have got, I don't really remember. I remember there was $12,000 involved and Vicki had said something. She wasn't full partner with the company, but Vicki had said, we're going in a different direction. And the company had stepped forward and said, well, you've only invested $12,000 in us. You have no say in what direction we're going in. Right. I think, and listeners out there, let me know if I'm right or wrong. I think there was some sort of lawsuit or something involved with this. There was a lawsuit. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Go right ahead.
I just don't remember who sued who. I just remember there was a lawsuit.
Right. And so I think, honestly, the majority of the housewives make some of the dumbest business decisions out there.
I believe so too. And I believe Vicki is probably one of the greatest offenders, despite the fact that she has CODA insurance.
Right. And, and I can't believe I'm like praising her because I'm not a fan. Look at people like Nene Leakes, who actually, remember when Nene for a minute had like a legitimate acting career?
Yeah. She was on Glee.
And then she was on another Ryan Murphy TV series.
Right.
Where
played her.
Yeah. She was on a Ryan Murphy TV series where, I can't believe I'm saying this. She was actually really good on the show and like funny. And then didn't she have a Vegas show and she was on Broadway? So she had a legit career. I don't know what ended up happening, but for a minute, she was a legit actress and she was very smart with what she did with her housewives cachet.
She really was.
But, and why do you, and this might be a redundant question. So it seems like a lot of the housewives and Bravo people in general end up dabbling in this shitty wine that no one wants to drink. Why do you think that they're attracted to wine?
Aside from it being the weapon of choice for every conflict at a housewife event, I mean, who has had wine thrown in their face? Let's see. Tamara did it to Gina. There was Lisa. There was a wine glass. Brandy Glanville. Wine seems to be the weapon of choice, so why not?
And so so most of them do wine. Bethany do you think the fact that the reason why Bethany was successful with Skinny Girl was because I was going to ask if she was the first, but with Tammy Knickerbocker was before Bethany, right?
Correct.
Why do you think that Bethany ended up being a success while these other women did not?
Because Bethany owns her brand. Bethany owns it. She developed it. We even saw her on her BlackBerry typing in recipes for Skinny Girl. She created Skinny Girl. She's full owner of it, while these people are licensing out their names. Like to anything and everything. Vicki Gunvalson has a perfume on Amazon for $16. Like,
oh God.
Yes. I mean, the things these housewives get into is
La Dame.
yes.
La
I
Dame. Karen
So-
Huger.
Vicky, or not Vicky, Bethany owns Skinny Girls. Skinny Girls was hers. She created it from the ground up. And we saw that happening in the early seasons of New York. We saw her
Right.
selling cookies in the grocery store. We saw her hustling. We saw her logo in Comic Sans. We saw her beginning this.
Right. Because that's right. Because she lived in a shitty apartment when she was dating the businessman who ended up like breaking up with her. But that's right. She lived in a shitty apartment, her and her dog, and she had no money.
Right. Mm-hmm. Or even there was a time where she was staying, she was crying about being homeless, but staying in expensive hotels.
Right.
Remember that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, okay. So now I see a figure here in 2011. Bethany had what was it? She made over 100 million.
Yes. We can say what we want about Bethany's character, but as a businesswoman, she is savvy.
And this is why I'm torn with Bethany. On the one hand, I honestly do think she's an asshole. I really do. But on the other hand, I have a respect for her because she was one. Because let's face it, these housewives go on the show. They're on for a number of years, and then they're done, and they are never heard from again. Or they spend their time being thirst traps, trying to get attention and trying to get us to pay attention to them when we, it's like, you're not on the show anymore. We don't care. Whereas Bethany, honestly, financially, she doesn't need the show. Ego-wise, I think she does for her ego, but financially, she's good.
Right. She's well taken care of. She's definitely made smart business decisions. She's the most successful housewife, eating her own brand.
Right. Because you could say Candy, but Candy already had her brand and her business when she joined the show.
Right. I mean, didn't Candy write No Scrubs?
Yeah. Oh no, Candy. It's so funny. I forget the list. There was a list of songs that Candy has written that you're like, wait, what? Like there's some Ed Sheeran song that Candy wrote. And so, yeah, so Candy was already successful. Yeah.
Right. I mean, my 41-year-old self, when I hear that No Scrubs come onto the radio, I still remember, it reminds me of high school, and I'm still screaming it to the top of my lungs in the car. I mean, right. I'm fighting the urge right now not to sing it.
So basically, and correct me if I'm wrong. So basically, the rest of the housewives are kind of thinking, do you think that they're thinking, okay, this worked for Bethany, this is going to work for me? I don't think
they're thinking with that Bethany logic. I think they're looking for a quick income to come in. I think Bethany's mind was in the long game.
Right.
And I think other housewives are, okay, this is going to last me until I don't get to hold whatever thing they're holding us.
Now, I have another question for you.
Okay.
And this is just a thought. This is just an opinion sort of a thing. So there's no right or wrong answer for it. Do you think that a lot of the housewives join these shows and somehow get deluded that the whole thing is gonna last a lot longer than it does? And then when the jig is up, they're kind of blindsided, even though they should know that this isn't gonna last forever. What do you think about that?
When you say that, Alexis Bellino pops into my head as that person. So I think there are some housewives that go on and they have some other motives. And then there's some housewives that go on and they just want to be on TV. But I do believe that there are some who are going in hoping they can bring a product out, bring a product up, or, get exposure for something.
Right. Right.
But I certainly think Alexis Bellino would fit into that category.
Oh, Alexis Couture, and she didn't know what couture was.
Right.
You know, Charade, the fashion show with no fashions.
What did she say? It'll be out in September.
Right. You know, and what was it? Who was it? Dwight. Who has a fashion show with no fashions?
I really enjoyed Dwight, to be honest.
Right. I saw him once in real life. So I used to live in West Hollywood, and I was jogging down Melrose, and I jogged by this black guy and kind of looked at him, but I wasn't checking him out. I was looking at him because in my head, I'm like, I know him. How do I know this guy? I know him from somewhere. And then I realized it was Dwight.
Was Lawrence J also on Atlanta? Lawrence?
Yes, Miss J.
He was just in the Billie Holiday movie.
Yes, I saw it. Yes, I saw it. And he was amazing in it.
Mm-hmm.
Miss Lawrence. Miss Lawrence. Yeah, no, Miss Lawrence. And that's like, wait, and this is an example of another one, and taking their time on the show and going with it. Because who knew that Miss Lawrence could act?
Right. And he was what? Didn't he do the wigs for Kim?
Yeah.
He was the stylist for Kim. And now look at him on Hulu star in the Billie Holiday movie by Lee Daniels. Which
I think that movie is going to be nominated for an Oscar.
Well, Andra Day already won the Golden Globe. I loved the acting of the movie, but because I've already done Billie Holiday and I've already researched her, I already know, oh, that's not true. Oh, so I couldn't enjoy the story because I've already got the story, the truth, not the Hollywood version.
Right. But that's the perfect example. And he wasn't even, that's right. He was on Fashion Queens. But other than that, when he was on Atlanta, he was a friend of and barely a friend of.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And look at his come up.
Oh, so back to Skinny Girl. So now it turns out that now there is Skinny Girl everything.
Yes. Bethany still owns the name Skinny Girl. So Jim Beam bought the Skinny Girl like margaritas and the beverages and decided to make a cocktail line with Skinny Girl, but Bethany still owns the rights to her name, so she can still market whatever she wants to Skinny Girl. Skinny Girl is still owned by her, and Jim Beam does the alcohol. So basically rent her name. And that was the $100 million deal.
So then you're saying all this other stuff is her, because there's like, so, oh no, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Other companies can come to her and say, hey, I have this shapewear, the vitamins, every other thing under the sun, which I accidentally bought a pair of her shapewear and I'm not going. I'm not a fan of the shapewear.
No bueno.
No, I don't feel like it tucked or sucked anything. No. But they'll say, we have the line of jeans. Can we use your name? And then they will pay her for the name. Oh, well, that once again, that I've gotta respect that. Because you made a list here. So Skinny Girl salad dressing, there's lunch meat, there's vitamins, skincare product, so basically then it's a baloney company saying, hey, Bethany, we've got this Skinny Girl baloney. Can we rent your name? Pretty much. Right. And it's kind of funny because on the one hand, it's kind of, I don't want to use the word tacky, but it's kind of like, I'm trying to think of the right word. So this is where I'm conflicted. How much research is she doing into the companies that are using her name? Right. Where is this jean company and how are the working conditions for its employees? How much homework is she putting into this? Is she looking at dollar signs or is she looking at ethics? Right. And these days I just did another podcast
today with another guest, with David Yontef from Behind the Velvet Rope podcast, and we got into a discussion about cancel culture. And I personally don't like the word cancel culture because I personally think a lot of times especially when it comes to race, it's not someone being canceled. It's someone being held accountable for like bullshit that they say or bullshit that they do. But with something like this, I do wonder, because if she ever had some sort of article of clothing and it ended up being like some sort of child labor thing in Asia or somewhere where they have like all these child labor problems, she could be canceled. Absolutely.
And as much as she's online and all these business ventures, I don't see her in these factories. I don't see her showing this side of her work. So it's like, okay, you are involved in this wine. Where are you in the vineyards? Where are you?
Right. Because do you remember, and we're talking, this is like probably 20 years ago, maybe even more. Remember when Kathy Lee had a clothing line and they found out that it was made through like child slavery or something, and she had no idea, and she really got like reamed for it?
I remember it. I didn't pay much attention because 20 years ago, I was a 19, 20-year-old self-absorbed party wannabe girl. But I remember hearing about that.
Right. And so she took a lot of heat, and she took a lot of heat for a long time. But if this was today, we'd be like Kathy Who, because she would totally be canceled. Totally. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it was just all because she didn't do her research. She didn't condone it or anything, but she didn't do her homework.
I find doing your research is now the necessary steps to be successful. You need to do your research. You need to know who you're going into business with. You need to know their ethics, because people really care about working conditions and ethics. Like I do. I would rather pay more to know that the person who is putting together things for me are safe, right, and are working a good wage. I would rather invest my money on a product like that versus something that's cheaper.
I agree. I fully agree. And, if stuff like I said, if that were to happen though to Kathy Lee today, she would get no pass. She'd be gone.
Do you think she would be gone, or do you think if Kathy Lee, if this happened to Kathy Lee and she had, or let's just say even anybody, and she came up and said, okay, this happened, I was unaware, I didn't do my homework, I take full accountability, I'm going to make this better, I'm pulling everything and I'm going to start from scratch again. Do you still think she'd be canceled, or do you think she'd be giving grace?
In that, okay, so I also think the reason why most of these people get canceled is because they don't do what you just said. They don't cop to it. They first try to double down. They try to double down. They try to defend it. They try to ignore it. And then when they come up with the apology, at that point, it's too late. And it's probably a written statement. People aren't dumb. People know when your publicist has written this thing for you. But if this were to happen today and Kathy Lee genuinely got on TV and was like, I'm sorry, I didn't do my homework, this is my fault, I want to make it right, I want to do something, I want to make a change, I've learned from this, she would be fine. I do believe that.
Okay, now let me go ahead and circle back to Bethany. Okay, so she wrote those tweets about Meghan Markle and then the non-housewife apology later on. Right. Do you think, because I feel like there's rumblings of her being, I feel like there's rumblings that this is going to erupt bigger into what she thinks it is. if she had handled it in a different way, do you think it would have been different? Or do you think people have just had enough with Bethany?
Okay, this is a double-edged. I think people have had enough of her, but if it was a true apology, like I didn't realize that there was so much racism going on and I didn't realize what she had to deal with. And now that I've learned, I feel like a jerk for doing this and I'm sorry and I want to do better and I want to learn about things that Black women go to and I want to, help change the narrative and I'm so sorry and I'll do better. I think that she would get a pat. Like people, like she'd have a little, what would you call, I guess like a punishment of sorts that she'd be down for a little bit, but then she would get a pass because she's truly sorry.
Okay, so here's another question. So Jim Beam makes the alcohol for Bethany.
Uh-huh.
Skinny girl name, and the alcohol is a majority of Bethany's income.
Ooh.
You were the head of Jim Beam, and Bethany is creating all these problematic statements and doing all these problematic things. What would you say to her as the CEO, the one making decisions, who has her livelihood in maybe their hands?
Well, you know what? This honestly, and I'm not saying this, like, so me, the person, would get rid of her. But in reality, and we know this is the way of the world, whether we like it or not, if it was making me a lot of money or as a business, then I don't know if I would get rid of her. And this is me talking as a business. This is not me talking as Les. As much as it would suck, I would talk to her or I would like muzzle her somehow and be like, listen, you need to be quiet and we need to have this in your contract that you are just not going to comment on this stuff, which you can do. I would do something like that. But I think if she's making the money, they're not going to do anything, unfortunately.
Well, I have noticed with the market, the wine did start out at $13.99, $14.99 a bottle, and now it's going down to $8.99.
And here's the thing, people, and this is to everybody. This is if someone says something or does something that you don't like, instead of calling the network and demanding that they get fired, which never works, you hit them in the wallet. That's what hurts. We saw this with OC. Kelly Dodd said all that shit and people were like, we're going to stop watching, and stopped watching, and it hit the network in the wallet and it proved it. And so they're talking about now making changes because it's costing them money. Right.
Yeah. It definitely is costing money for Bravo.
So for Jim Beam, if it would cost them money, then I could see them getting rid of her. But if it doesn't cost them money, unfortunately, there's no change.
I'm almost curious of what the contract with Jim Beam is, because we know the $100 million wasn't a lump sum. It was paid out. It's going to be paid out through a certain amount of years.
Oh, then they really wouldn't get rid of her because they still owe her money. Unless or if they had the money and just paid her out, I could see them paying her out and then being done. But if they still owe her money and they're making payments, then she's not going anywhere.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out.
Right. Now speaking about playing out, let's talk about, and now that we're on the Bethany train, let's talk about Bethany's mortal enemy, Tipsy Girl.
Oh. So Tipsy Girl was a fun one to dive down the rabbit hole. So do you remember the season where Sonja Morgan had introduced the brand Tipsy Girl and said she was going to be the ambassador, and she was a partner in Tipsy Girl?
Right. Yes, I do.
Okay. Even Andy Cohen called it the most absurd business venture done by a housewife. I mean, obviously, Andy doesn't remember bacon-flavored vodka by Vicki.
Right.
Okay, but what if I told you, Les, Sonja wasn't the first person Tipsy Girl approached?
Oh, okay. Was the first person another housewife?
Yes. Same franchise.
Oh, who was it?
Ramona.
What?
Yes. Ramona was going to be the Tipsy Girl.
And this was after the Ramona Pinot Grigio, right?
Yes.
So what happened?
Ramona was going to be, remember in the season, Ramona was restaurant shopping with that guy. What was his name? Peter?
Yeah, Peter.
That is Tipsy Girl. He was the creator of Tipsy Girl.
Oh.
So they were exploring this business venture together, and she was going to bombard me with Tipsy Girl. And she was going to say, try my wine at this party on camera for a storyline, but chickened out at the last minute.
I could 100% see her doing that. Like 100%.
So she was afraid that she was going to lose her job at Bravo for making Bethany mad, because apparently Bethany has all this pool.
Right. Which I believe that.
So they went to Sonja. Which, let me just backtrack, because Bethany has a skinny girl makeup or skincare line.
Mm-hmm.
But so does Ramona. Ramona has a skincare line.
Yes.
So remember Bethany getting pissed, enraged, and was so mean to Sonja when Sonja
making Sonja cry. Yeah, I remember.
Right. About this. I mean, I kind of look at Sonja sometimes as like this poor little puppy dog.
You know what though? I am so proud of Sonja Morgan, because I don't know if the listeners know this or not, but Sonja sold her clothing line, or it's going to be out of Walmart, which is a big deal.
It is a big deal. Listen, we celebrate little things. Let's celebrate them. This might not be a big thing to Bethany, but this is a great accomplishment for Sonja. I mean, I don't have a clothing line at Walmart.
Right. And the thing is, Sonja's going to make a load of cash. Sonja's going to make a lot of money because Walmart. So that means that the price point, it's a lower price point. But since it's Walmart, more people are going to buy it, and she's going to be rich in her own right. It's
accessible.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you're going to make more money when things are accessible.
But I remember I remember the Tipsy Girl, because that's where we all learned the word cheater brain.
Yes. 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 But Bethany was playing dirty on this one. So Bethany kind of took a step forward and tried to trademark the Tipsy Girl name. However, Sonja's business partner, Peter, already had the name registered. So imagine this. Bethany is yelling at Sonja, calling it a cheater brand, just berating her, but then goes behind her back and then is like trying to register the name so they can't even have the name.
So let me just make sure I'm hearing you correctly. So basically this was something out of like Dallas or Dynasty. So Sonja tells Bethany about Tipsy Girl. Bethany gets pissed, and then Bethany goes behind her back to buy Tipsy Girl or the name or the rights, so then she can stop Sonja.
To trademark the name, yes. Yeah, she went behind the back, but the name was already trademarked 7 months earlier, so Bethany couldn't get the name.
That is dirty.
Right. I would agree so too. I guess I don't know. Maybe I'm a girl's girl or something, but I wouldn't undermine my friend. I'd be like, hey, how can I help you? How can we do this together? Like that's just my nature. Call me a fool. I don't care. If I succeed, we all succeed. Right.
Now, didn't Tipsy Girl become a restaurant or something?
Well, it was going to be a restaurant in New York, but it's thought that Bethany blocked the liquor's license, so it moved up to Connecticut.
I could see that too.
Right. It's shut down now, but I've actually been to that restaurant.
Okay, tell us about it.
Okay, so well, I can't tell much because it was after a drunken night in Connecticut. We were karaokeing and we ended up in this bar. But when I was looking at the restaurant doing my research, I was like, I've been here. And I looked up my pictures and I saw it. But I was pretty lit after karaoke. I do know I sang a song, so I had to have been pretty lit. But wasn't Tipsy Girl at this point anymore. It was Tipsy Girl, that restaurant is out of business. And now it's a new restaurant that I went to. I didn't go to that one.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. That is too funny. But now, you know, Sonja and Bethany are friends again. Everything's fine. And like I said, Sonja's successful in her own right now. Right.
But this isn't over for the Tipsy Girl saga, because in season 9, do you remember Dorinda? Clip.
Yes.
That was about the Tipsy Girl saga, because Sonja had said Dorinda was approached to be the Tipsy Girl before her, and Dorinda got upset.
Okay, so wait. So, So Tipsy Girl, they started with Ramona. Ramona backed out. Then we thought they started with Sonja, but they actually then went to Dorinda.
Right.
And then they went to Sonja.
Yes. So the argument was at the table, and Sonja had said, oh, well, Peter reached out to John and John said you were on board. And that made Dorinda mad, because it was like, John doesn't do my business.
Right.
Okay, John doesn't do your business. He's the what? He owns the cleaners. So that was the fight, and the infamous line of clip happened at that scene about this argument. That's
funny.
Right?
And poor Sonja. So she was like third choice for this.
Right. And Sonja she's not well off as the other girls. She has a status, but she's not as financially secure. I mean, she was living in that broken down townhouse that still hasn't sold, and I feel like there's a lot more going on deeper with Sonja. It was like, come on, guys, let's just give her this win. She needs a win, guys.
So I have a question for you. So,
okay.
And I'm going to backtrack a little bit.
Okay.
So when it comes to the wines, so what is the actual makeup and fermentation process of the wines?
Okay. So what happens when there's wine, it takes where you're making the wine, there's the glucose and the fructose, and then it gets, okay. So when you're making the wine, glucose and fructose is eaten by the yeast, and that's the fermentation process. The leftover sugar is the residual sugar.
Okay.
The higher the sugar, the lower the alcohol content is. So the longer you leave the alcohol to ferment, the higher the alcohol will be and the less sugar will be in it. So people think when they're drinking the wine and it's sweet, they're thinking it's the sugar, but in fact, it's just the berry, the grape.
So then the higher the sugar content, the bigger the dud the wine is.
The lower, yeah. Yeah. Because the yeast is eating the glucose and the fructose and it's fermenting.
Right. And so Bethany, I guess she lowered the calorie content.
She only lowered it by 25 calories. And if anything in 2020 has taught us, it's indulge. If you want to have that wine, have those extra 25 calories and enjoy yourself.
Seriously. And everybody, all the housewives enjoy wine. We've got, okay, so you actually broke down how many glasses of wine to a bottle.
Right. There's usually 5 glasses of wine for a typical 5-ounce pour. And people are like, why does this girl know about wine? I studied wine for 2 years and was going to take my sommelier exam.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, COVID happened. So that's why I know these things with wine and was like, okay, let me learn.
Now, Okay, so Kim Zodiac drinks a lot of wine, but she does it in a solo cup. How much wine is actually in a solo cup?
Oh my God, what is the ounces of a solo cup? I don't know. I've never drinking wine out of a solo cup. And it's not to say that I'm an elitist or anything. It's just never happened.
But because I think a solo cup is bigger than your average glass.
Right. And I know the lines on the solo cup are all like the bottom line is a shot, and there's lines on the solo cup that tells you which is.
Wait. The line in the solo cups mean things?
Yes.
I never knew this.
Yeah, I'll have to send you the picture, but the lines in the cups all mean certain ounces for certain types of alcohol.
I never knew this.
Okay. Well, yay. I taught you something.
I know, seriously. And then we find out that Peter from Tipsy Girl is going into politics.
Yes. He's upset because of COVID and the bans, because restaurants were shut down to only 25% capacity. And that upset him because he's like, there's no way we can run at 25% capacity. And so now he's running to be mayor.
Oh, Jesus Christ. and you have you said something that was really funny. You equated Peter to the Harry Dubin of wine.
Yeah, Tipsy girl, because it just got passed from Ramona to possibly Dorinda. We don't know. And then to Sonja, which is the same as Harry Dubin, because didn't Ramona not admit to anything with Harry Dubin until a photo leaked and she was swallowing him? Yeah.
And he's so gross. Like, I see nothing wrong with sleeping with the same guy, but it's him.
Yeah. I don't know what it is. I didn't even know what it was about Tom for Luann either. I was like,
well, Tom's not my type, but I could see how someone would like him because he's a good looking guy. He's not, not my type, but he's decent looking enough.
Okay, I have to ask, what house husband is your type?
Oh God. Okay. I have a few. Okay. Maurizio.
Okay, that's a given. He's pretty handsome.
From Potomac, do you know who I think is really cute in a weird nerdy way? Is Wendy's husband.
Really?
What's his name? Eddie.
Okay.
Who else? House husband wise. None of them from Salt Lake City. None of them. What's Deandra's husband's name?
Oh, the
Jeremy.
The cop was
Jeremy.
right?
Jeremy.
Okay.
But I actually thought Deandra's husband is Jeremy, the photographer. But then I actually didn't think that Leanne's husband was so bad either.
I'm thinking of Leanne. I always confuse Leanne and Deandra.
But both of their husbands were very sexy, I thought.
Right.
I hate to admit this one. I hate to admit this one. I hate it. Joe Gorga.
Okay.
Joe Gorga.
He's attractive. He's attractive.
He looks like he'd be a lot of fun.
Right. I mean, I like humor in a man, so I'm not going to fault you for Joe Gorga. But have you ever fell down the Melissa Gorga, Joe Gorga cheating rabbit hole?
Okay.
Not the he just played, but deeper.
Because and correct me if I'm wrong. I had the feeling that the cheating rumors, or this is my thought. I thought that the cheating rumors for this season was just to kind of create a storyline. Am I wrong?
No, I agree. It felt gross though. Like, really, Teresa?
I don't think Joe Gorga cheats on Melissa, and vice versa.
Okay, because from the rabbit holes I fell into, and I have no proof and I have no say, this is just what I read, so we're going to throw allegedly in front of this, is that one of the kids is not Joe's.
Oh, but they all look like him.
I haven't really paid attention. I've just...
all the kids look like him.
I think it was the youngest one is supposedly not Joe's. But
no, because that kid looks like him.
Okay. I'm not too invested to know. I know that I have read those and was just like, okay, but at the same time, like, I'm not going to pull up pictures and look, because if they've decided to move on, that's their relationship. And okay.
Oh, you know another one who I think in a weird way, who I kind of think is sexy and who I kind of like? Margaret's husband.
Oh, yes. You know what? I love a blue-collared man.
I like, there's just something. There's something.
Yeah, I love a blue-collared man. A man that can fix things. Oh, that is, if I need something fixed around my house and you come do it, that is, I don't want to go shopping for a man online. I want to just go to Home Depot.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
Let me just take long romantic walks around Home Depot. We don't need to go to the beach and watch sunset. Let's go to the paint aisle.
I have a funny story for you. So many years ago, we're talking probably like 30 years ago, which I can't believe. So 30 years ago, I lived on the West Side, like in Venice. And there's a huge gay contingent in Venice. And there used to be a really cool gay bar there. And so on the West Side, Home Depot used to be 24 hours.
Really?
And guys would go to the Home Depot after hours to like hook up.
Really?
Uh-huh. It was a thing.
Oh my God.
It was a thing for a long time.
That is so crazy. Was there a specific, because like here we have a certain bar which is known for like swingers and you know that we know the signs. If you want to go and find another person for your night as a couple, like, but you have to sit in a certain area and you have to leave your keys somewhere. Like, is that at Depot where you go to a certain aisle? Like, do you go to? There's
signals.
Okay.
So basically, the gay bar was called the Rooster Fish. So you'd go to the Rooster Fish, and then the Rooster Fish closed at like 2. And then after the Rooster Fish closed, you'd go to Home Depot.
That is so crazy. That's amazing.
But the Rooster Fish is
Home Depot's not 24 hours anymore, huh?
I don't think it's 24 hours anymore. And I'm married. So, you know, wait, I'm married and I live in Hollywood. So I really don't feel like driving down to Venice in the middle of the night.
Yeah. That's a couple freeways in the 405.
Right. That's like, it's like, no, I'm like, I don't feel like taking that drive. But I have a feeling though, this is my feeling. I have a feeling that once COVID is over, I have a feeling it's going to be like the 60s again, as far as like free love and people. I just have a feeling that people are just going to lose their minds, which is, I see nothing wrong with it. And I'm actually here for it. But I have feeling that once this is over, people are just going to lose their shit and just be all over each other.
So in my recent podcast episode, I compared the dating and relationships of the Spanish flu in 1918 versus COVID. And after the Spanish flu, when everybody could go out again, the flapper movement was created, and it was women rebelling against society. They were cutting their hair short. They were wearing shorter skirts and longer necklines, and they were smoking, and they were having petting parties where it was kind of like a bunch of people in a room making out, but not having sex and respecting the boundaries. It was just, you had your partner, but you were all in a room. So if history repeats itself, you could be onto something, because that's what happened in 1920.
And so basically the Roaring 20s then was just all because of the pandemic.
Yes.
Correct?
Well, we were in World War One. Then we had the pandemic. Then we had the Roaring 20s. Then we had the Great Depression and World War II. And then the baby boom.
Wow.
Boom, 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 boom.
Wow. It was so funny because in high school I did study the baby boom, and that was all because all the soldiers came back from World War II.
Right. Yes. Yep. But we didn't have a baby boom because we were in a pandemic when all the soldiers came back. Yeah.
I never thought about that.
My most recent episode, we researched everything from what was happening in Spanish flu and now.
Did they have to wear masks in 1918? Did they have like a mask up thing?
Absolutely. Or they were charged $10, which back in 1980 or 1918, that was a lot of money. And a couple people were killed because they refused to wear masks. They absolutely had to wear masks. They were mask shamers. So they were more strict. It's a really interesting episode where we compare the two and we discuss the history of how they approach the pandemic now versus here.
I got to listen to that, and everybody listen to that episode.
Please.
Oh, we forgot to talk about, so Ramona had a wine. Ramona did have her wine. She had Ramona Pinot Grigio.
Yes. And Ramona, she kind of did her wine right, because she did go to the appellation of Italy to have she went to the country of Italy, but went to the appellation of Dalvinzi to get her Pinot Grigio. And Dalvinzi is known for their Pinot Grigio. It was an IVT, which means it was lower, so it doesn't have a...
Right.
Go to the store and you get an Italian wine. You'll see a DOCG. Those are it's a system where the Italians grade their wine.
Right.
So the DOCG would be the top, and that's the hardest to get. Hers, she doesn't have to abide by these certain standards. What's different between Bethany's wine and Ramona's wine is Ramona's in Italy, so she has guidelines she has to follow, or she would have to follow. She doesn't have it anymore. Her being an IVT wasn't as strict, but considering Italy's old world wine, Italy, they have rules and regulations. They're not allowed to add additives. They're not allowed to add certain things. They're not allowed to do this. They're not allowed to do that. So what you get is what you get from a French or an Italian wine. And what you get over here, you can add these things to change the flavor. So if you were to go and you were to get a Pinot Grigio from Italy or a Pinot Grigio from New Zealand, these are two different terroirs, two different climates. You're going to get two different flavors from the same grape.
So then would it be safe to say that even a crappy Italian wine actually wouldn't be that crappy?
Yes, absolutely.
And so that means Ramona actually had decent wine.
Yes. And Lisa Vanderpump has the rosé, which is from Provence, France, and she did it right too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I know people who have had that. My husband's had that, and he liked the Vanderpump.
Yeah, I've had it too. I did a paper on it a while ago when we were studying it about the areas and what it tastes like and the tasting notes. And yeah, I did it too. I've had it too.
And so basically, do you think that Lisa's is very successful just because she can promote it? Or she used to be able to promote it at her restaurant.
It's also in it's in Beverages and More. It's in Total Wine.
Oh, it's in Bevmo?
Yeah, it's in Bevmo.
Oh.
Yeah. I've actually now I'm seeing it going on sale for $4.99 a bottle. So I'm not sure where it's going with that, because when price points get that low, it's usually could be a kiss of death. Maybe they're just trying to get out the inventory.
Well, it's so funny. I'm wondering what's going to happen with Lisa.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'm having conflicted feelings about Lisa myself because I hear she just left all her workers during this pandemic just stranded, not financially and stuff. So I'm just kind of like, oh, Lisa, please.
But, and that kind of ties in to why I wonder about her, because I wonder if she even had the money to take care of that.
Right, because isn't she allegedly losing one of the restaurants?
Or like I know allegedly she's being sued for something.
I think I remember hearing that there was not rent paid on...
Was it Villablanca?
Yes. Yes.
But so I wonder because, okay, so even without Villablanca in the picture, she has Sir, Pump, and Tom Tom. And have you ever been? They're actually literally like Sir, Pump, and Tom Tom are basically next door. There are a couple of bars in between, but Sir is down the street. And so for the longest time, all three of them were closed. And now only Sir is open out of the three.
But isn't Villablanca more outside?
Villablanca was Beverly Hills, but I think she's already gotten rid of Villablanca.
Okay.
But yeah, Villablanca was in Beverly Hills. So it was like a couple of miles away.
Okay. I've never been to any of Lisa Vanderpump's restaurants.
And now this is what I find weird about her not opening at least Tom Tom. I mean, sorry, not Tom Tom, Pump. So there is a section of Pump that's outside. Like she has like her so basically it used to be that the place where Pump is started out as like a taco stand, and then it became a Mexican restaurant, and then it became something else. But there used to be there was the building at a parking lot, and that the parking lot is what she turned into her garden, like with her garden or whatever with all the trees. So but that's
her creating Pump was a storyline for what was it, Vanderpump? Yeah. Or was it Beverly Hills?
I think for Vanderpump Rules, I believe.
Okay.
I believe it was Vanderpump Rules. But I think that they talked about it on Beverly Hills as well.
Okay. But Tom Tom still hasn't opened yet, right?
Tom Tom has not reopened.
Okay. Since we're on Vanderpump Rules, let's not forget Witches of WeHo from Stassi, Kristen, and Katie.
Right. That's right.
Didn't go anywhere because they got in a fight.
Now, do you think, though, that when they got in that fight, it wasn't going anywhere anyway?
I don't really know. I really can't say. It seemed like it was. They did that whole fancy photo shoot. Their distributor was up in Washington. I do know that. And now the distributor who worked with them now has released Bravo Wines by Bravo. So now there's a Bravo Housewife wine line done by Bravo, who was the same distributor for them, for the Witches of WeHo. But I think they were just kind of using it as every opportunity that every other Bravo celebrity has done, where they just, okay, we're going to promote this, we're going to make this, and maybe we'll get 10% of the sales or something. Because the fact that this company has now branched off to Bravo makes me think that, okay, they're trying to promote through Bravo, they're trying to hit the wine wife demographic through so maybe Witches of WeHo wasn't exactly them.
Right.
But, okay, we'll create this line and you give us a portion to use our. And then they got in a fight. And I think it was because Kristen decided to date Carter?
Something like that.
Right.
The last season of VPR, I kind of tuned out because that was when all the racist stuff was happening, and I was just kind of like, ugh, I'm not into this.
I didn't watch the last season because I was disappointed. I was disappointed because, as much as Sheena got a lot of slack for being Sheena, I feel like Sheena plays a role, but Sheena went on a journey of infertility, and she was getting her eggs, and she was doing all of these things, and they just typecast Sheena into this role. And I really do believe that Sheena has grown. I don't think they're doing her justice. I think they're feeding the mean girls.
I think Sheena does the heavy lifting on that show, to be honest with you.
Right. And I don't think they do her justice. Like, I want to learn about the process of egg retrieval for her. And
now is it, so we don't know for sure if it's coming back or not, but if it does, so there'll be no Jax, no Kristen, no Brittany, no Stassi. Do you think then, with a different dynamic, do you think that they would focus more on Sheena?
I would hope so. And I would hope that they validate her, because I don't think she's this person they created. Like, granted, there were snippets of, Rob can hang a TV in 7 minutes and blah, blah, blah. But that doesn't make you a terrible person to be proud. I feel like she wasn't given enough credit. And I feel like on a journey that I would have liked to watch.
This is what I think about VPR. And this has always been a stickler with me. Okay, so in LA, there are hundreds of thousands of thirsty wannabe actors, actresses, writers, models in this town who would be willing to wait tables and be on TV. So right. I think that VPR should be more like Below Deck, where you have a couple of the regulars, but it's a revolving cast pretty much. And you never get the same people every season. I think that would be better for that show.
I feel like they tried that last season, but it backfired.
Well, but the thing is, they got all lame people to try it. Last season, when I did watch it, there was a girl named Charlie who I really liked, who I think is, if they come back, I think it's going to come back. You have to get the right people to, like, Below Deck. They always get the right people to each revolving cast. They're good people for the show. Right. They need to do that as well here, and there are a wealth of, like I said, thirsty actor, model, that they should have no problem getting people. Like, no problem.
Right. No, they shouldn't.
So, oh my God, Heather, I could talk to you all day.
That's a good thing, right?
Yeah, no, it's a great thing. It's a great thing. How can the listeners find you?
Well, you can find me on Instagram for my podcast, Madam's Heaux and Gigolos, and Heaux is spelled Heauxs.
Like New Orleans.
Because we're fancy around here. You can find me there, or you can subscribe to my podcast, and I'd love to have you on, and we can discuss.
Oh, thank you.
New Orleans or other topics that are your fancy.
I would love to be on, and I would love to be on, and yeah, definitely. I'm fascinated with the topic of sex work, so yeah, let's do it.
It really is an interesting topic, and there's so many phenomenal people in history who were sex workers, but we don't talk about them.
And and I hate to harp on the Maya Angelou thing, but that is, like, in a way, that is, like, I think, and I hope I'm not sounding bad by saying this, that is almost the purpose of it. You go into sex work to help yourself, feed your kid, and then propel yourself to something else, and and use that money to give you a leg up. And
look, I'm going to confess something that I haven't even confessed on my own podcast. I was a sex worker. Mm-hmm. through college. Well, I gave her a year until she dropped out. But I'm a single mom. I've been a single mom since my kids were 2 and 3 years old. And I haven't had the support. My daughter wanted to go to college. I wanted the opportunity. So when I had to do certain things, I wanted to take the stigma out of it because you know what? I was bettering ourselves by doing what I did.
Well, and it's a valid career. It's not hurting anybody. It's hurting nobody. No one.
No.
And so it baffles me when people get all like fever pitch about it because it's like it's not hurting anybody at all. And a lot of times when people get fever pitch about it, it's like, why do you care? You're not even involved. Why do you care?
Right. I am not hurting you.
Right.
I'm just trying to do something for my daughter. So she went to college in Connecticut and it helped. It helped a lot.
Right. Well, I would love to come on. So yeah, once we're done, let's schedule something and hook it up because I'm definitely eager to come on the show. And once again, thank you for coming on.
My pleasure. I would love to come back and do more with you.
Well, it's a deal. It's a date.
Yeah.